Live from the Pro Copy Studio, in Perth, Western Australia, it's time for this week's Wine and Cheese.
Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Wine and Cheese. Thanks for joining us. Marcus, what's been happening?
Busy week, mate.
Yeah?
Busy.
What have you been
Car
doing?
service on Tuesday.
Oh, it's always a hard
My son
one,
always
isn't
gets
it?
me organised with that, you know.
And I heard you went out drinking.
Had a bit of a celebration with a
catch an
friend
Uber
that's going.
home.
Yeah.
And had a really bad hangover.
I didn't. Well, the hangover might. I don't know if I had a hangover. I just felt a bit kind of dead.
The messages you sent me, I think we can say you had a hangover.
Yeah, my head hurt. But it was one of those kind of steady things. I mean, when you leave somewhere at 3:30 in the morning.
You can't do that at your age.
No, my age. What age do you think that is?
You're a granddad now.
Yeah, well, I'm a granddad.
That means you can't go out partying.
Yeah, no. Well, you've got to set them a good, you know,
a good example.
A good example of what is expected in the future. No, it was good. A friend of mine, actually, guy called Peter that used to work for us.
Okay.
He came back to Australia in about 2011. His wife was doing a research thing at one of the hospitals here.
Right.
So Pete came back and we gave him some work for a while, and then he went off when he got settled down. And he's actually going back because he's now a granddad.
Okay.
So he's going back to Oregon. And he's going to be there for a while before he comes back again. So he was having a bit of a get-together.
Nice. Oregon's a nice place, besides those riots.
Some parts of
it
are nice, some parts...
Well, they actually were saying Portland, Oregon is probably the most similar city to Perth in America.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, although they did have those really terrible riots recently, which was very un-Oregonian of them.
Oregoni? No, it's origami, isn't it?
You were privileged to digitise some amazing cassette tapes.
Yeah, we had one of the radio stations contact us last week, I think it was. Might have been the week before, might have taken a week to come in. Came in with a set of tapes of Graham Polly Farmer.
Who is the freeway guy with the tunnel?
Yeah,
Northbridge tunnel.
Yeah, before that he was a rather famous footballer though.
Okay, I didn't really know that because I'm not from Perth.
No, you're not. Well, he played for Geelong and a couple of other places, so as well.
Okay. Can you tell I'm not really into footy much?
But anyway.
But I do know he was a legend.
He was a legend, and some time ago, I'm guessing...
And he was an Indigenous player, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic.
Very
was he one
famous.
of the first?
I'm guessing one. Oh, yeah. No, there was a few before that well, he started in the 50s, I think.
Right.
But probably one of the most famous ones from that era. Played alongside John K. Watts, I think. But he did a series of tapes some time ago on goal setting. But it was goal setting from the perspective of playing football. So there was a lot of winner mentality in there and stuff like that. It was fantastic listening to it.
Great.
The other thing that struck me as I was working my way through this job was that the person doing the voiceover was an old family friend and DJ, Jim Beam.
I've heard a lot about him. I never met him.
No,
but,
no. I don't think you were here when he was doing a lot of his.
I know
radio work.
he used to live upstairs at the Inglewood Hotel for quite a long time.
Yeah, but not long before he passed away.
But quite a legend. Everybody talks
brilliant
about
voiceover.
him.
He used to do quite a bit of voiceover work for me back in the day. He worked at 6IX. I think he worked at 6PM as well. One of those fantastic voices. Like, Jim, come in and do a voiceover for me. And it was just spot on every time. So it was beautiful listening to that. The way he talks through this program, because Graham Farmer does some of the voiceover, but the majority of the program was talked from kind of third person perspective. You know? Very good. So I guess it might end up on the radio at some point in the not too distant future.
Okay. But it's
So
always
keep an
good,
eye.
isn't it, to digitise this stuff and archive it
Yeah.
before it's lost.
Yeah.
I mean, you were saying you had a tape come in that basically the oxide had just dropped
Yeah.
off the tape as
Yeah.
soon as you touched it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, that people think this stuff's going to last forever, and it's just not.
No.
How much did you say was in the state archives that needs digitising?
There is around about, in audio terms, there's about 65 years of
Crikey.
work to do. That's what they're
Crikey.
estimating.
And has anyone
Fair
pulled
amount of
their finger
video
out and
and-
said, we better do this now before
Well,
it
you know,
perishes?
it's an ongoing thing. And
Well, it's something we've talked about, isn't it? With the profile and other things that we do. Is Australia too young as a country to appreciate its history? And are we leaving things too late? And one day, in 50 or 100 years' time, our grandkids are going to say, what about such and such? And it's gone.
Yeah.
It's not there.
I mean, we've had instances where we've gone to TV stations to get footage of things that you would expect were sitting there. Things like the Wildcats when they won the grand finals in the 90s. You know, we did a program about that, and you couldn't locate any of the original footage.
Well,
I
remember,
mean, that's not that far back
Exactly.
in history.
do you remember when Johnny Young was on the profile, and he said that it was policy at Channel 10 at that time to tape over the
Channel
1-inch
10,
tapes.
yeah.
And they only ever had the old black and white original footage because Sally Boyden's parents were rich enough to have bought one of the very first VHS type machines, home video recorders. And that's the only reason that footage has survived. There's over 300 episodes of Young Talent Time that are gone.
Yeah. And that's really sad. It's sad from the perspective of the people that were performing on it. David's been working on some stuff over the last couple of weeks, bands that performed, and luckily somebody did some footage of them, 25 years ago or something like that, and they've been able to dig it up and find it. But, as you get a little bit older, you want to look back on some of these things.
Exactly.
A lot of the kids these days, it's very transient. They take pictures on their phone. The ones they don't like, they
post it.
delete.
Yeah.
The problem is, a lot of those ones that they delete have got the things that later on you think about.
Well, and they also, they rely too much on these social media platforms to be around forever. And they're not going to be. And then when places like YouTube and Instagram start inflicting really crazy censorship stuff, I mean, a couple of years ago, YouTube went through and deleted every video that wasn't the official narrative on any subject. And that's gone now. And there's people that put hundreds of hours into these podcasts and putting these videos together, and it's all gone.
And look at the things that are happening at the moment, with this talk about paying for news stories and all of this kind of stuff. And that, they're posting things every day. When you open up YouTube, there's a little banner comes up with something on there. And
Did you read that?
I've read a couple of them.
I read it last night, and what it is that they're saying that they are going to preference news sources that pay them. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're good news sources.
No.
If they're CNN, it's crap.
Yeah. So what's going to happen as well is the people that can afford to pay are going to get the primary spot. So it's going to get harder and harder for small independent people to ever be seen.
And for us
And
as
that's not a good
consumers
thing.
to find the correct news.
Yeah. So it's not a real good thing. I haven't delved into it an awful lot, but you start doing things like that. You think, what's the agenda behind it? The agenda in this case is not prompted by YouTube. It's been prompted by governments so what's gone on there that's now changed it? I don't know. That'll play out over the next couple of weeks, like other issues that have been happening around town.
I just wanted to give folks an update on the cane toad, and he can sue me for that because I ain't got anything. You can't sue somebody if they haven't got anything. Clive Palmer is now saying $30 billion is not enough. And the Prime Minister says Clive Palmer's challenge to WA's COVID-19 border closure is an unnecessary distraction, while the Premier says the billionaire has gone nuclear with his mounting lawsuits. Mr Palmer is now believed to be seeking more than $30 billion in damages from WA government after accusing the state of unconscionable conduct.
Can we actually, I know we've talked about it, and I think there is a Facebook page now. I have to go and have a look again, prompted from some of our discussions, I think. But if everybody in WA said, we've had enough of this bloke and we want a class action, is there a lawyer out there that can actually tell us if we could do it? And we'll just sue him for $1 million each. So that's...
Do we need to sue him, or can we just stop him having any business dealings in this state? Because he doesn't play fair. He won't play by the rules that everyone else has to play by. And that to me is like, well, then I'm sorry, you can't come in and do business here. We don't want
that movie that
to take all of our resources and sell them to China. You pocket the money in your Cayman Island bank account. And as usual, WA gets screwed over. Sorry, you were going to say?
I was going to say, it reminds me of that movie called Enemy of the State. Gene Hackman, I think, was in that movie. Watched that 100 times. It was great. But no, I don't know the legalities of it, but I think we as individuals find a nice lawyer in town and go in, right, this guy is affecting up... If he starts to affect our lifestyle and threatens us, which is what he's doing,
he's totally threatening us.
He's actually threatening the livelihood and the safety of people in Western Australia. Well, maybe it's time that we turn around and...
Well, he's also now suing Mark McGowan, our Premier, personally, and is trying to bankrupt him. And it's like, that's not fair. Mark McGowan's doing a job. He's doing a very good job. It's nothing to do with him personally. And Clive Palmer's just... I just don't get this guy.
Has never been fair, Phil. That's the thing. Law has never been
I had a
fair.
mate, actually, that was studying law, and he got all the way to the end and was one unit off of finishing. And then he woke up one day and realised that law is about... process. It's not about justice. And he walked away from it. Yeah.
I can understand that.
Anyway, it's time for our mate George.
Oh, what's he got to say this week?
Oh, well, check it out.
You were designed, the real you, to be in flow. So what is flow? Flow is when what you're doing is effortless, because the right ideas are coming to you at the right time to guide you intuitively in what's the best way to be to optimize the results you're after. That is so effortless that you achieve a lot and you stay energized. How cool is flow? One of my favorite sayings is no flow, no go. But as you'll notice, we can slip off our flow for a long time. Some people struggle to even get back in flow for too much of their life. So what is it about who we really are can actually be disconnected from one of the most important ways of how to be in the way we relate to our whole day, every day. So what I'm saying to you is this: lose your tolerance for being out of flow. Do things that will reclaim your imagination and your intuition. Learn to feel the moment. Learn to absorb what's going on around you in great detail, because then your imagination can serve it, because you're actually informed. So when you do that and you stay fully present and you absorb a lot more than you did before, you are one significant step closer to turning on the flow for you. Look at where in your life you are in flow, where things are easy for you. Learn from that and learn where you're not in flow, and look at how you overthink. Look at how you second guess and you're too much in your logic and you're not enrolling your whole brain thinking of your creative and intuitive side of you. So The real you is meant to use all of you, not half of you. So start to embrace and be the work in progress to develop that part of you to reclaim the real you, which is to be in flow with everything that you do.
So some great gigs coming up. Quick reminder.
Great to see it happening.
Oh yeah, great. Quick reminder. Saturday evening, Darren
night.
Reed's gig, A Little Help for Our Friends, at the Astor. We'll be there.
We're going to go
So if you're going to be there, say hello.
from a distance.
Yeah, from a distance. And looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Later in the evening.
And who's with Darren on that one?
Wax, Steel Rex, Airbag, Felix, and Darren Reed and the Soul City Crew.
Fantastic.
I watched Darren on doing his live cross on Facebook today with his glasses on. Gee, he's an elegant looking bloke.
Oh, mate, he's smooth.
Mate,
He's
good on you,
smooth.
Darren. And then later in the evening, we might be heading down to the Civic.
We are definitely heading to the Civic. It's
Jamie
not a might.
Page, Donna Green
Dark
with
Universe.
Dark Universe.
Can't wait.
So yeah,
Can't
looking
wait.
forward
That's
to
going to
a
be
bit of
really awesome.
Rock and roll.
So get down there, folks.
Yeah, Saturday night. If you're not into the rock and stuff, Jazz at the Ellington.
Okay.
Libby Hammer, great performer. She'll be doing a show. She's also doing a show at Jazz Fremantle on Sunday, the 23rd, which is Pink Mancini. Now, she did that
What's
back
that?
at Fringe Festival. It was a sellout show at Fringe. Very entertaining show for those that like the music of Mancini and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is it sort of jazz,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Cleo Lane, or more big band?
No, smaller show.
Right.
Smaller show. RTR FM. Many, many moons ago, Phil, I actually worked prior to becoming a RTR FM at 6 UVS FM, which was the uni radio down at UWA.
Okay.
I was on there on air on a Monday night there.
As an announcer?
Yeah.
Really? Cool.
Mum and Dad had a record shop. It was very handy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know who we can get to do it.
Yeah. So they're completing their radiothon this weekend. The 23rd is the last date for that. Fantastic local radio station. They need a lot of support. Go there, subscribe or donate.
Yeah,
They need
them
our
out.
help to keep doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we need a bit of local occasionally. So
We do.
RTR is really important. You've got a couple of gigs there, Phil?
Well, it is really important because, you know, yet again, the station's Channel 10's cutting its news service from here, and it's all going to come from over east, which is like stupid. They tried it years ago, it didn't work, so they're doing it again.
Takes a long time for them to realise.
Didn't Einstein say the thing of stupidity is doing the same thing over and hoping for a different outcome?
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, our good mate Phil Bartlett, good bloke, he's playing with John Butler on Sunday, November the 22nd, or I should say the 22nd of November. We're just so going American. I really hate that. Starts at 7 p.m. It's at the Waroona Showgrounds, which is Southwest Highway, Waroona. There's food trucks on site, drug and alcohol-free event, and it's the South. For more information, contact the Southwest Basketball Aboriginal Corporation and trybooking.com.au. And yeah, that'll be great for Phil.
So that's up
He's
and
really
coming?
Good.
Yeah.
That's up and coming.
I think he's got a new album
Has
coming
he?
through.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I think he's been working on a new album, so people will be
Great.
able to see that perform live.
I know as well that he's been performing in schools with the Magital Mourner Choir, the
Oh, wow.
Aboriginal choir that Delaray Morrison set up with Jo, who I can't remember her surname now, but they set this choir up. It meets in Forestfield every Monday night, and yeah, Phil goes with them into schools to teach
wow.
kids
Yeah.
some Noongar, which is
It's
great.
important stuff. Following Sunday, that will be the 30th, the Robbie Jones Quintet, which is Robert Jones, Rod Christian plays in that band. They're playing at Jazz Frio, which is at the Navy Club in Fremantle. Should be a fantastic show.
The Navy Club's a really good little club.
Yeah.
I went there with your dad
Yeah.
and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Always sounds good there. It's a good sized room. You can see easily. Thoroughly enjoyable afternoon. So that's interesting, but that's a bit different for Rod from what he's been doing lately.
Rod's a couple of shows back. We showed Rod's Uluru. Well, the CD's finally out, folks. So you can now, from tomorrow onwards, if you go to rodchristian.com, you can buy this, and it's
a fantastic.
Awesome.
It's an orchestral suite.
I've heard you mixing it over the weeks, and it is absolutely stunning. It's really
I
good.
hope he gets some success with this, and that it gets the recognition it deserves, because it's not easy to do this kind of stuff.
Well, to compose anyway is hard, but then to do it as an orchestration is really hard. You know, it's really quite amazing. Also, this week, Wayne Green is down at the Eastshed Markets in Fremantle. Really good down there, kid-friendly, of course. Lots of ships to look at. This week, he's playing with Mark Ralph on keys and Priam Basic on guitar. And that should be a really, really good gig too.
Another thing that came across our shelves the other day, Toby Beard.
Right.
She's got another LP out. I think this may be
My God, it's an LP.
a second run of her LPs.
Wow.
Toby's a fantastic performer, and under normal circumstances she'd tour and play all over the world. But she's locked away in Perth at the moment. She's got a gig coming up. So support Toby as well. Fantastic songs. Just brilliantly written songs.
Hold the album up so people can have a look.
That's hers. So
and are you finding
just a great performer.
I mean, this is what you guys do here at Pro Copy, and are you finding that LPs are coming back?
In a small way, there's a lot of people interested about doing it, but
and
the problem
didn't
is,
you tell me though that the sound spectrum of frequencies is actually better than what CDs are?
No.
Okay,
Potentially
I
it
got
could
that
be.
wrong.
By the time it gets to being outputted, no.
Right.
So there's a lot of emotion involved with vinyl and stuff like that. But if you actually A/B an original recording in the vinyl, you'll pick up the differences.
Okay.
At the moment, one of the most cost-effective ways of getting music out there is still CD.
Right.
Online stuff, you might be able to get it out easier,
But you won't
don't
get paid
You don't
for
get
it.
a return.
What was the Steve Winwood thing? It was Spotify made $17 million out of Higher Love, and he got sent a check for $1,700.
And some of the things are just so disproportionate. It's not even funny, really.
It is, isn't it? That's
So, anyway.
Bless you! Bless you! I owed him up.
Okay, so time for this week's Jordan Report with Jason Jordan, our good mate. Thanks, Jason. Take it away.
Hello, I'm Jason Jordan. The boys have graciously given me a soapbox for me to have a regular chat about the rampant stupidity that surrounds us all. As they say, if 100 is the average IQ, by definition, half the population have under-average intelligence. Yet we all have an equal vote. Perhaps some sort of certificate in civics, or at least a basic understanding of how politics works in a Westminster democracy like ours would be the go. But that's a topic for another day. Today, I want to talk about the pandemic. Now, the lack of understanding and preparedness for COVID-19, plus the fast-spreading nature of the virus, has contributed to an exponential surge of cases worldwide, which has led to a global pandemic, the likes of which we haven't seen for a century. Yet despite the increasingly anxious requests from our political leaders and medical professionals for us all to continue self-distancing and quarantining, in Victoria, many are simply not complying with the stay-at-home orders. Mounting anger and frustration with the lockdown with no real end in sight, throngs of real-world and online protesters eager to get back to work claim politicians are overreaching and trampling on their rights and freedoms. And across the world, beaches are reopening, churchgoers continue to congregate, determined not to forfeit their right to assemble and worship. Conspiracy theories abound, claiming governments are gaslighting citizens, feeding them massive lies about the pandemic. Conspiracy theorists insist the lockdown will collapse financial organisations and that corrupt politicians, the World Health Organization, and savvy financiers will gain an economic monopoly and power to take over the world. And if you can believe it, security for Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, has been beefed up due to death threats. While a recent study by Harvard researchers reports that social distancing might remain in effect until 2022, the message is falling on deaf ears. Hardline religious leaders argue that scientists, government officials, and the WHO don't believe in God and are determined to remove their God-given rights to assemble and worship. Will the impatience, frustration, and refusal to heed scientists and government leaders create a second and third and fourth wave of the pandemic? Will it put the world at greater risk? Well, if you believe the Harvard researchers and an alarming new study reported by eMediHealth, an expert-reviewed health resource, the answer could be yes. Pollfish, a market research platform, collected data between April 6 and April 14 from 5,000 adults in the United States regarding general views of the COVID-19 threat, measures taken, and precautionary practices. Some 71% of the respondents rely on news outlets as their most trusted source to keep abreast of the pandemic, and 50% turn to social media, while only 43% rely on data from credible health organisations such as the World Health Organization or the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention. With the constant barrage of information, it can be difficult to tell facts from hearsay or misinformation. In an age of ubiquitous social media, unverified information can mislead scores of people, sending them in the wrong direction and creating adverse repercussions and mismanagement of the pandemic. Now, although 85% of us practice frequent hand washing with soap, as high as 40% of respondents believe home remedies can protect against the coronavirus. A total of, bizarrely, some 20% said they believe the flu is more dangerous than COVID-19, and 26% completely overestimate the scope of antibiotics, thinking these drugs can eliminate the virus. While COVID-19 and the flu are both viral infections that affect the respiratory system, many people underestimate the severity of the coronavirus, which is more contagious and far more dangerous than the flu. They brush it off as similar to the regular flu. Now, there's no specific proven treatment for COVID-19, and there's virtually no medical interventions that eliminate the virus from your system. The lack of treatment for the virus has prompted some people to try various alternative remedies without any credible proof about their efficacy. About 35% of surveyed people said they believe they could contract the coronavirus from a pet's skin and fur. Now, it's true that animals have tested positive for COVID-19, and it's known that coronavirus can survive on the skin or fur of animals. But currently, however, there's very little evidence that the virus can be transferred from domestic pets to humans via physical contact. Nearly half of the respondents estimate that COVID-19 would have catastrophic consequences for the world, whereas most of the remaining half also view it as a major threat, but just not as extreme. A paltry 3% think of it as a minor threat, whereas 2% consider it's not a threat at all. A little fear is a good thing, especially since we know so little about the virus and no country or person is immune from this rapidly escalating health crisis. The struggle to understand COVID-19 is still in the initial stages, and it's safe to say that it will continue to spread indefinitely. Finally, when asked how long the pandemic will last, respondents gave a split verdict. Around 38% estimate the current crisis will persist for a few more months, and an equal number believe it will continue longer and stretch out for more than the next 6 months. It's expected that the threat of infection will remain prevalent until a vaccine is discovered, and that's probably more than a year away. Some scientists believe the virus is here to stay, and it could become a recurrent seasonal ordeal, just like the flu. As experts uncover more information about COVID-19, hopefully facts will eventually reign supreme over fears and misinformation. Meanwhile, it's safe to say that the healthiest course of action is to rely on credible, unbiased and objective sources such as scientists, medical personnel and organisations with specialists who have devoted their careers to studying and disseminating information on infectious diseases. Good news comes from a recent poll showing that the majority, 58% of citizens, are concerned about moving too quickly to loosen Medicaid restrictions and that the health and safety of humanity is at stake. From everything we know to date, until more information and treatments are available, scientists insist that the motto of "stay the fuck at home" is the message to heed on this untrodden path forward. I'm Jason Jordan.
That was good. And Jason's going to come in, hopefully, in the next few weeks and have a chat to us about medical marijuana.
Okay.
And CBT.
Well, he's very authoritative on that subject. He's
a smart guy and he knows his stuff. And it's something Australia really needs to grow up about because, you know, medical cannabis doesn't mean people sitting around staring at a blank wall for 4 hours stoned off their dials. That's not what it's about. And medical marijuana is very, very good for inflammation. It's very good for a lot of things. Stimulating appetite and anorexia, all that sort of stuff. I'm not an expert on this. Jason is. And he founded this group and they're doing amazing stuff. And I really want to get him to come in and talk to us all about it so we all understand what it's about. Because I know doctors that are so confused about it, they're not sure what they can prescribe, in what amounts, what drug company it comes from. The costs are so prohibitive that you're actually better to get it on the black market, which is what we don't want to do.
No.
It's sort of crazy.
Well, I'm sure Jason will be able to give us a very balanced viewpoint on exactly what can happen in that area.
So I hope he can come in really soon.
We look forward to catching up with him in the studio.
Well, I think that's about it for this week. Anything else you can think of?
I'd just like a decent night's sleep, actually. How's Wiggle been?
Wiggle's fine. He's worked out if he lifts his ladder, that unhooks it and he can throw it. It's only taken him 2 years to work that out.
I can lend you some gaffer tape if you like. That'll fool him for a bit. Not for the ladder. I'm just thinking to put it on his feet.
Oh, that's cruel. That's terrible. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
I'm a great pet owner.
He keeps wanting me to bring him into the studio, but I don't know if he'd survive the car ride here. I might try it.
We could Uber him.
It's not my driving, it's the whole thing. He's a bird. You know, he's not a dog where he's going to hang out the window and sort of, you know, isn't this brilliant? But I guess if I put a cloth over him or something. So, yeah, we might have a special guest of my budgie. How exciting is that, hey? We've hit the new highs on this show.
It. So, have we got a good song to finish with tonight?
We do. It's Greg Bird, Steve Gard, Al Simpson, a couple of other guys that I've forgotten their names, sorry. But this is really good. This is a really good song.
Cool.
Have a good week, everybody. Ring each other up. Talk to people, especially friends in Victoria and Sydney. Victoria's doing it really hard, but they are starting to hit a curve now, which is fantastic. Still some idiots doing the wrong thing, but that's going to happen, isn't it?
Well, you can't control them.
No.
We'll talk to you next week.
Take care. See yous.
Bye.